letting us know a little bit more about what West Windsor Township Council does. And we want to know what are some steps West Windsor Township Council members have taken to promote environmentally friendly practices? And additionally, what are some ongoing environmental projects you've been doing, mainly pertaining towards water or any sort of environmental situation?
Well, one thing, the Environmental Commission is very active, and we do have liaisons, and other members of council, even if they're not the liaison that year, tend to work with the Environmental Commission. One thing we have as part of the Environmental Commission is a Green Practices Checklist. And the Green Practices Checklist, which I think I updated back when I was on Environmental Commission, is a list for anybody who comes into our zoning or planning board and wants to do any kind of a major project. They're asked to review a bunch of green practices that are not necessarily required by law, but they're encouraged. So there's a lot of that on the checklist, and we also have that checklist available to residents because there's a lot of good ideas in there, the things that they can try in their homes. Of course, there are environmental laws also on the books, and there's a lot of regulation for anybody doing land use, that everything from how they have to plant so many trees, how they have to plant berms. There's things called riparian zones and green spaces where they're not allowed to build. There are places they have to keep setbacks from so that there's no contamination. I could talk for 2 hours.
Retention basin is another one.
That's part of the stormwater. So there are whole sets of rules that some of them are state level rules, some of them are West Windsor local rules that that anybody coming in wanting to build has to go by. We also, as a commission and as a council, are very supportive of trying to get information out there and encourage residents to do things. For instance, we have held, this is the 5th year we've held the National Drive Electric Week electric car show. We had the first, West Windsor had the first one in all of Central Jersey 5 years ago. Now Princeton's got one, and a few of the other towns, but we've been doing it first. We had it at Community Day this year. We get 20, 30, we've had 40 electric vehicles, of which there are constantly more now. We've encouraged a lot of businesses, when they're doing major renovations, to be putting more electric chargers in, even before there were any kind of state laws for that. The commission also does very hands-on activities. We've been there's a major push in West Windsor now to go for native plants, to go pollinator gardens, to try to replace some of the lawns, which are environmentally not as positive. Water runs off lawns. They're not really supporting the wildlife. They're not really supporting our pollinators, our bees, and our butterflies. And we're trying to get more and more people to put in pollinator gardens, and we're also trying to get people to handle some of their localized stormwater problems by putting in rain gardens, which are essentially pollinator gardens that are built with substrates that will allow the water to go in and recharge the earth, and also, instead of running off into the streets. And what we've done in the community, we've done a few of these around, but what we put into Community Park now is a pollinator garden area, a large rain garden that's handling a really bad stormwater problem that we had at the skate park there. And we have plans to put in some other environmentally friendly outdoor things, and this is going to become our environmental demonstration area, showing both businesses and homeowners the type of outdoor environmental improvements that they could make, instead of just shoving the water off or putting in some of these non-native plants that are either invasive or are not helpful to our pollinators and our wildlife. So there's a whole bunch of encouragement that's being done through demonstration in various places. The Girl Scouts, I'm a 25-year Girl Scout volunteer, and one of the things I've pushed all this time is this type of outdoor environmentally friendly way of handling things. And we've had a lot of Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts that have helped with a number of these projects around town, native tree plantings, things like that. So everybody's been getting involved, and so it's been a terrific green team, environmental commission, council's been out there planting with everyone else, and the effort, council's been out there helping with the shade trees. They've been out there with our our electric car shows. So
just
yeah.
to add to it, like I would just say, like we have the environmental commission, but we also have a shade tree commission. So there are two different commissions that look at the environment in our town, encourage not only residents but also new businesses coming in, any new constructions coming in, to be environmentally friendly. Try to be, as Andrea mentioned, put in electric chargers for the businesses, but also be solar panel ready if not in future, if you want to put solar panels for electricity purposes. That's another way of being environmentally friendly. Native planting, yes. Rain gardens. I think we have a bunch of Girl Scout projects as well in our town that are pollinator gardens and rain gardens in town. That we encourage quite a bit, and as Andrea mentioned, council has been going out and bringing their own plants from our own gardens and helping them plant as well, so we can spread the practice of planting native. In addition, there are local groups. There's one other group that was formed by some residents, Wild for West Windsor, that is very active in promoting the environmental plantings, and I think council is very supportive of that as well.
Yes, council, we've mentioned it in a number of meetings. We want to encourage people to get certified for native plant gardens.
It's I think there's a national wildlife certification.
National Wildlife
Federation
has a program like that, and both of us have signs.
We have signs in our house,
yards.
and you need to have native plants, water source for wildlife, and food source for wildlife. So if you have fruit trees, fruit bushes, water fountain, maybe bird houses or something, so basically encouraging the wildlife to thrive in our town, basically.
Right. And our planning board encourages for solar, so that even if somebody comes and says, well, I don't know if I want to do solar yet, if you don't make a building so that the roof can hold the solar panels, then that would be an extremely expensive retrofit. So we've tried, and we've actually succeeded in getting a number of people who are coming in doing new things with buildings to make them solar ready, to have everything where both there's room on the roof based on what else you put there, plus that you've built the roof with the infrastructure to be able to hold the solar panels. And we have gotten a number of agreements even before other laws take effect. We've managed to convince a number of the applicants that this is worth doing, and even if legally we can't force them to, we have gotten them to agree to do it with a number of the applications that have been coming in. So we recognize that if you come to us, we're going to ask you to do a lot of putting in trees. We even had a project come to the planning board where they were putting in solar panels in over at the Carnegie Center, and they were putting a whole bunch of solar panels over the parking lot, but they were taking trees down. And there's everything is a balance when it comes to the environment. And when we looked at it, we didn't like the way the stormwater was being treated when it came off the solar panels, and we got them to move things around to do that more naturally, and we got them to replace trees in places where they didn't block the sun, in other places, so it wasn't a matter of, you could take a bunch of trees down, and because you're doing good in one place, so you can kill something else. So and they were very cooperative, and we wound up with a very, very nice project over there where there's solar and there's a bunch of new trees that are nice size, and the water's being handled properly. So we go to a lot of effort for that.
Yeah, no, that's completely great to hear. I remember the community day was a huge success. I remember going there and seeing a bunch of environmentally advocacy organizations over there, and like I saw like a few pens, but it was like a cardboard. It was like cardboard pens, and I remember telling this to my parents, like, wow, I'm finally seeing this happen. So yeah, that's great to hear.
This last community day, the council had a table
Uh-huh.
where we did Shop West Windsor because we're encouraging people to shop locally.
Local.
I mean, not only for our economy, but environmentally. it's better.
Environmentally, if you shop local, then the carbon footprint, you reduce the carbon footprint for things that are coming into your house.
We had some girls giving away reusable bags.
Yes, I remember.
So that's-
And we had the Environmental Commission, and they had not only about the pollinator and the rain
Rain
gardens,
garden.
but they were talking about composting, which is
Yeah.
another whole thing there. And we had the Shade Tree Commission, and they were doing a whole thing where kids were drawing and
I
making
remember.
pictures and stuff.
Right.
So we made the town council thing, which
All about environment.
right, which there had never been a town council table before.
At Community Day now, this I think was the first
We
one.
put it there and we made it a whole big environmental, and we made sure it was across from the, where the electric cars were. And we brought in the DEP also as part of, because they were telling people what kind of rebates they could get if they put charging stations and things, so DEP was
DP was there, the Wild for West Windsor, and FOWOS, the Friends of Open Space West
and
Windsor.
they had their own booths.
They had their own
Yeah, we
group
had them.
where they were actually giving away native plants and seeds, pollinators garden seeds. So I think this past community day was a very
Yeah.
environmental friendly
Yeah. Right.
community day.
So,
Yeah.
you know, like the council one, we had our township groups, but there were
Right.
a lot of
Other groups.
related groups. PSE&G was there telling about the rebate programs for things, so.
Shade Tree Commission also does during Earth Day. They have a whole big program about. Don't they do the Earth Day program?
Yeah, well, what happened was this year, because of COVID, they couldn't do the April one.
April one, so
So they did this one at Community Day, and then next April they'll be doing their Arbor Day, which is a massive.
Massive.
Yeah, they usually
program.
get 50 people, a lot of people, a lot of students that, they have an art contest and I think a poetry contest.
Yeah, there's all about, and I think there's some plants and trees, seedlings
And then
involved in there
have
to give
that,
away.
so.
I think there was one project, was it last year or the year before that, the Girl Scouts, there were
That
two
was
or
it?
three, the tree forest planting that we did
That
by
was
the
it.
Duck Pond Park,
Yeah,
that was last year?
I had a lot of friends talk about that.
Yeah,
Really,
that was a 2-day project.
It was a 2-day project, a lot
My
of Girl
friends mentioned
Scouts.
they planted about 100
yeah,
trees.
they
Yeah.
were so
Yeah.
surprising.
It's by the Duck Pond Park, and I'm a Girl Scout. My daughter is a Girl Scout, and we planted the trees. We the Girl Scouts took turns to go water because there was no water source there. So every week, group of girls were going with cans of water to water those 100 trees until they took root.
Right. And it was the middle of COVID.
It was middle of COVID.
So they spaced it over a 2-day period, and one troop at a time would come to do the planting.
Right.
And so there's a whole little section of native.
And it's all
forest.
native trees. It's a native tree forest, basically.
Right.
So that's another way of,
Right.
encouraging the community and doing things that are good for our.
Right, and that girl came at that last Arbor Day there, and she talked about that project.
Yep.
So there were a number of opportunities. So if you're going for your silver award, in particular your gold award, we're always looking for good. We had there's another rain garden over here right near the municipal center, near the court, that we put in as a silver award by 2 Girl Scouts. There's another pollinator garden that
By the tennis courts, there's one by the tennis courts.
Another, there's by the tennis courts. That's a sort of semi-rain garden with a pollinator garden. That was one of the first ones.
That's across
that
from
one of the Girl
High School
Scouts-
South.
That one of the Girl Scouts put in as her silver award, and she did presentations to the community on it. This was prior to COVID.
There's
so
one
she
in Historical
got the-
Society.
The historical sites went behind the barn there.
Right. So there are many projects around town.
Right, some Boy Scouts put in some bird boxes over near our community garden. And that's another thing we do. Our town's had for quite a while a community garden where people can go and plant vegetables. Right over here, there's a waiting list for it because it's very popular. And so that's right over here. If you,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not right now. Obviously, it doesn't look like much because everything's been pulled. But when you come during the summer,
in
it's
spring
beautiful
and summer, it like
to see all the vegetables and other things people plant there. You know, so we do. Oh, you know, we try. We're always on the lookout.
Yeah.
For where we can put another little native garden, another, you know, if some people are willing to work on it.
Yeah, these are some really like interesting like environmental practices you guys do, especially helping our pollinators and like different species, that wildlife species. And we also are very grateful to be able to see some of these like things being enacted